Turn to Matthew 20 if you'd like to read along. Matthew 20. And we're going to start at verse 20. Beginning at verse 20. Then the mother of the sons of Zebedee came to Jesus with her sons, bowing down and making a request of him. And he said to her, "What do you wish?" She said to him, "Command that in your kingdom these two sons of mine may sit, one at your right and one on your left." Jesus answered, "You do not know what you're asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I'm about to drink?" They said to him, "We are able." He said to them, "My cup you shall drink, but to sit on my right and on my left is not mine to give, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared by my Father." And hearing this, the 10 became indignant with the two brothers. And Jesus called them to himself and said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great men exercise authority over them. It is not this way among you, but whoever wishes to become great among you shall be your servant. And whoever wishes to be the first among you shall be your slave, just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and give his life a ransom for many." We're going to talk about the path of greatness. And I think it's reasonable to say that we all want to feel that our lives matter. Most of us don't want to go through life thinking, "Oh, I wasted all my years. I didn't do what I could have done." But what we have to ask in the process is, what does greatness really mean? What is it we're really trying to achieve? Because the world's ideas are frustrating. The world would tell you it's a lot of money perhaps, or maybe it's prestige or whatever, getting to the top of some field or another. And the sad thing is all of the money you get, when you die, how much of it do you get to take with you? And your kids are going to have all the fun with it, but they've just been waiting for you to die. You get to the top of your career field, and you may be celebrated for a moment. And then the next generation comes along, and nobody remembers the past hardly ever. So we have Matthew 20:25 that we just read about the true path to greatness. It's not about power, which is an earthly concept, of course. It certainly isn't about money. That's certainly not going to be it. And it isn't about prestige. All of those things will ultimately leave a person empty. According to Christ, it is about learning to serve one another. That's the goal. It's not about climbing a ladder. It's about stooping low enough to lift somebody else up. In the kingdom of God, that's the idea of greatness. Now, I get that is not what the world thinks, and I would suggest to you that if you look at this last idea, it's about stooping low to lift others up, and it kind of rubs you the wrong way, then you know that you have worldly thinking in your mind and have some garbage to clean out. Because in the Christian model, the idea of serving others is the path to greatness. I mean, Christ just said that about as plain as you could want it said. So it is an unpopular message that we have. Serving certainly doesn't please the flesh. The flesh and the spirit lust against one another. And so we have to do as Paul said in 1 Corinthians 9:27, that it is make our body our slave. We have to bring it into conformity with the teaching of Christ, and that means we're going to learn how to stoop low in order to serve other people. So we're going to be in this culture that glorifies all these achievements, and let them glorify achievements. I don't want to get in their game field and play with it, but we're going to come out from among them. We're going to be the ecclesia, the called out, and we're going to do some things that are different. Now, one of the things that we are going to do with very deliberate, premeditated purpose is learn to walk in the footsteps of Jesus. This is what a disciple is. This is what Christianity is about. So we could take Matthew 20:28 that we just read. Even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to give his life a ransom for many. we're going to take up our cross and learn to follow Jesus in serving other people for the good of the kingdom. And again, not a popular message, but that's what we do. So Paul's going to point us to this better way in a little different language. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And as you walk through those, you think about them for a minute, if you can see service there. Love is not going to be selfish. Love is going to serve. Joy, we're going to find joy in our service. We're going to have that inner peace that passes understanding in our service. There's going to be patience as we deal with some people that are not heads or knuckleheads or whatever you might want to call them. There's going to be kindness. And that's one way we serve. And we'll have goodness and we'll be faithful. We'll be trustworthy to other folks. And we'll be gentle. And then we'll be self-controlled. So we have our worldly fruits and we have our fruit of the Spirit. And as we learn to walk in the footsteps of Jesus, the whole thing is about learning to grow the fruit of the Spirit, to imitate Christ, as Paul would say in 1 Corinthians 11:1, and we're going to serve other people because that is the model that Jesus set for us, and it is learning to let go of the flesh and serve other people that we actually find our own transformation. We don't find transformation in getting things. If we found transformation in getting things from the world, then Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates would be the most transformed people in the world because they have achieved accomplishments from a worldly point of view that have never been dreamed possible. Would you call these men spiritually transformed? Are these the men you would go to find spiritual information and guidance? Now, you may go to Bezos and Amazon to order something, and I'm not against that. Kind of like my Amazon, but it's certainly not a spiritual transforming experience. And so as we learn to give up ourselves, which is what Christ did, we come into this transforming practice. And so we train because it's all about the training. And we learn to find our fulfillment in that training. And eventually, if we get it together and connect it, we learn what Acts 20 and 35 says. And that's just that real short quote where Jesus said, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." And when you make that switch, and when I talk about making the switch, I think all of us get it academically. As we put it on the board there and we jot it down on paper and we talk about the theoretical concept of it being more blessed to give than receive, you go, yeah, I think I get that. Okay, that's good. That's the first step. But we're talking about going to the next step where it becomes the experience of life. And it is now that big word I like, experiential. And because of your experience that you are more blessed in the giving, you are more excited to come into the opportunities to serve, and you look joyfully with it. And so you enter that service now with the fruit of the Spirit, the love, the joy, the peace that passes understanding, because you know it is more blessed to give than to receive. Now again, I want to make that distinction. There's the academic understanding of it, and then there's the experiential understanding of it. So God approves your desire to be great. It's not wrong to want to be great. You be the absolute best Christian you can be. Christ said, "Let your light so shine before men, they may see your good works, glorify your Father in heaven." You be the brightest light you can be. And if you start off with kind of a dim 5-watt bulb, make yourself a 20-watt bulb. You begin at 20 and you get comfortable, move on up to a 60-watt bulb. You can get up to a 150-watt bulb, you go for it. Just keep getting brighter and brighter. Let that be your greatness. And God is not against that. He says, "Whoever wishes to be great among you shall be your servant." He tells us how to be great. He gives us the recipe, if you would. And the recipe is learning to be great by stooping low to serve other people. And I'm going to tell you, God created you for greatness. He likes it when you achieve greatness within the parameters that He set, just as much as any parent enjoys the greatness their children achieve. Now, in the parent-child relationship, we could talk about a lot of different things, but when a kid comes home, and let's say you have a specially and gifted academic kid, and they have all A's on the report card, mom and dad are delighted at that, right? You have a kid that's athletic and they win some kind of trophy at the school, you're delighted in that. We love to see our children succeed. God loves to see you excel also in the things that are pleasing to Him because He created us for greatness. Now, it's a biblical greatness. It's a different one than the world has. I get that. But He did do that. And so here we are learning how to be awesome, fantastic, to shine as bright as we can. John 13, 14 and 15. If I then, the Lord your and teacher, washed your feet, you should also wash one another's feet. For I gave you an example that you should also do as I did to you. And here we're back to service. This is one of those places where Christ shines brilliantly. I'll let you decide how that compares to Calvary. In my opinion, Calvary would have been the brightest shining of Christ, where He literally laid His life down. Well, this is going to rate pretty high, isn't it? And yet, look at the physical activity. The physical activity was just a common courtesy that was prevalent in their day and normally assigned to the lowest person on the staff. The newest person with the least seniority and rank had the job of washing people's feet. And here comes the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, the Master of all. And He says, let me show you the path of greatness. And then He kneels before His disciples and washes their feet. And of course, you recall the story. Peter was a little upset about it and had to be convinced, but that's why they sometimes call him impetuous Peter. So we got to ask the right question. What can I gain or what can I give? And the goal is to focus on, if you go back to Acts 20:35, it is more blessed to give than to receive. So the person that's always on what can I get, what can I get, what can I get, incidentally we call those takers when they're really excessive, or what can I give, how can I serve, how can I make my community a better place, how can I make my family a better place, how can I make my workplace a better place, how can I contribute to my local church family and make my local church family a better place. And there's people that do that. They ask the right question. So I want you to think really, really small. I mean, really, really small. And go, okay, let's get it down small enough where you can give. Mark 9:41, Christ said, for truly I say to you, whoever gives you a cup of water to drink because you belong to Christ will by no means lose his reward. And we have the song where we sing the lyric, just a cup of cold water in His name given, will a hope in some heart renew. Forget the rest of those lyrics, but that's pretty close. And so when I say think small, I'm talking 24/7, 7 days a week, not just here at the assembly. Most of the serving you'll do will be Monday through Saturday, not here at the assembly. And you just think about little things. And then step out of your comfort zone a little bit, not too big at one time, because you don't want to crash. So it's kind of like this. We want a first grader to graduate to the second grade. We have figured out academically what the average student can do going from first grade to the second grade. Do you notice how we don't take a student in the first grade and graduate them to the 11th grade? That would be a tragedy, wouldn't it? That'd be a big failure. Now, what I'm trying to tell you is that if you step out of your comfort zone from first grade to second grade, you're going to do okay. You'll be a little wobbly at first, but that's okay. New experiences are always a little wobbly. But if you try to take a really giant step and go out of your first grade level or whatever grade you think you're at and go all the way up to 12th grade or fourth year college or graduate program, you're going to crash and burn. You're going to crash and burn hard. Now, the thing here is you're going to come up and go, man, I ain't doing that again. and you'll be afraid to step out of your comfort zone at all. But if you'll step out just a little, second to third grade, maybe you think you're in the seventh grade, then go to the eighth grade, and you just take that increment step, you'll be fine. Oh yeah, you may get hurt a little bit, but you'll grow, and you'll learn to do the small things first, and then you'll get bigger and bigger, and then service will become a way of life. And there you'll find Acts 20:35, it is more blessed to give than to receive. And you'll get toward the end of your life and you'll start seeing the silos of the past full of the things that we had in Acts 20:35. And you can look back with happiness and joy instead of, oh man, I just wasted a whole lifetime, didn't I? So Jesus' example is just really phenomenal in so many ways. Philippians 2:7 and 8, he emptied himself, taking the form of a bondservant. So he was in heaven in the likeness of God, but he didn't consider it robbery to be equal to God. He made himself in the likeness of men. Being found in the appearance as a man, he humbled himself, becoming obedient to the point of death, even death of the cross. Now, if he's willing to sacrifice literally his body, the symbolic lesson for us is that we're going to sacrifice the flesh, meaning my personal want-tos and my personal agendas in order to help other people when those opportunities arise. Now, we are not saying that you can never have your own agenda, but we are saying that you look out for not only your own interests, but also the interests of others. And you find that balance in there. And the balance we're looking for is where God looks down upon us and goes, yeah, she's got that one right now. They've got a good balance. Now, I mention that because it's really easy for some people to do something nice once a year and be selfish 364 days of the year and think, well, look at me. And they stick a feather in their cap and they think, well, they're just the greatest servant ever. No, I'm sorry. That's not what Christianity is about. Christianity is about learning to serve others in the path of life day by day by day. Some days there'll be more opportunities. Some days there'll be less. Maybe that some days there'll be none. I don't know. But you keep your eyes open. So what Christ did was he saw our need and then he responded to it. What he did, of course, was he left heaven, took on flesh, and went to Calvary. We're going to keep our eyes open. We're going to see the needs of other people. And within our abilities, we're going to respond. And ideally, what we're doing is to respond with love. Because many of the situations we're going to service, we can't fix. They're not fixable. Somebody's got cancer. If I could fix that, I would fix it. I can't. Does that mean I cannot serve that person at all? No. I can still be of service to them. But now we're going to get into that intangible area where we're going to be serving emotional support, and we're going to be a shoulder to lean on, maybe an ear that just listens, and encouragement as they travel a path that we can't fix. And there are other situations that would fall into that. So we're going to respond with love. And then we're going to stay committed even when it gets difficult. And sometimes it gets difficult. There's a case or two, I don't know many of them, but they get together and they go, oh, we're going to be together forever, sickness and health and, rich or poor. And then things get bad and all of a sudden the person goes, I didn't sign up for that. I'm out of here. And those are really sad stories. True commitment, true love, true service doesn't jump ship just because the storm got a little too rocky. So Jesus, for the joy that was set before him, endured the cross. Now this is back to Acts 20:35. Can you see the joy set before you? It is more blessed to give than receive. But in order to get the blessing of giving, what must you do first? And somebody say, give? Absolutely. And sometimes the giving can be painful, such as it was for Christ, giving his life on Calvary. Giving's not always a pleasant, happy, let's go to a birthday party kind of thing. But yet, those who have had the experience of the blessing of giving, they see the joy. They know it's on the other side of that dark valley, and they don't let the dark valley throw them off. So what does it look like in our lives? Well, again, I want you to focus on the really small things. Don't look for something great, big and grand. Colossians 3:22. Whatever you do it heartily as for the Lord. Now, in this verse, in this context, if you go back and look at it, you start all the way back at verse 17, and he says, or whatever you do, verse there, and then he talks about some husbands and wives, and then he gets down to bond servants. And so he lists some people in life, and after he addresses the bond servants, it's in that context that he says to the slaves, whatever you do it heartily as for the Lord. Oh, bond servants did everything. They served their masters. If you were the lowest guy on the staff, you had the foot washing job. And he was to do that as though he was doing it for the Lord. Think small. Bring it down really small. Think about the two widows' mites. We're not going to go into that story right now, but that's all she had. And Christ gave her more praise and compliment than the people who had a lot. So our challenge is not to do something bold and amazing and impressive and get in the headlines. Now, if you get in the headlines, that's good. I'm going to celebrate with you. But that's not the biblical goal. The biblical goal is not bold headlines. The biblical goal is humble service. And if you focus on the small, day by day, by day by day, and then a big thing comes up, you do the big thing. You'll be more prepared to do the big thing, but understand the big thing's going to pass pretty quick. And then you're back to the small stuff over and over and over again. And if a few years later another big thing pops up, that's great, but not. That's all right. I want you to keep bringing Jesus into the small things. I want you to see how Jesus weaves through everything in your life. And how, even though it's just a brief moment, you can go, yeah, I see it there too. Now, let me get a little silly on you because I'm trying to get this down to the small things. So Jesus said, just a cup of cold water. All right. So let me ask you this. Now, I'm going really trivial. Why did you brush your teeth this morning? You know, I don't know. I always brush my teeth. Okay, that's good enough. There's some hygiene involved, right? So do you want to have good teeth, good breath as you talk to somebody else about the gospel? Do you want to take care of your body? See, we do this all the time in prayers. You hear it quite a bit. It's around the dinner table. Say, Lord, bless this food to the nourishment of our body and our body in thy service. And now the meal, if that is true, has become part of being a good soldier. Taking care of your health can be part of being a good soldier. I don't want to be too crude, but I don't want you to have breath so bad that I can smell it 6 feet away and you come up and try to talk to me about Jesus. Come on. Let's talk about something else before we get there, right? You want to be a good, healthy soldier. So you can start looking at other things, and there may be multiple aspects to why we do these things, but I want you to bring Jesus into it. I want you to see, this helps a little bit. And then we're just going to grow it. We're going to grow it. Start as small as you need to do, and then keep it growing. Because the oak tree starts out as an acorn, right? And then it sticks its head through the ground. And then years later, somebody's climbing it, putting up a deer stand so they can shoot deer from it. Hey, when did the tree get there? Took a long time, didn't it? That's all right. That's the way I want you to look at it. So become your best. Whoever wishes to be first among you shall be your slave. Learn to give yourself in that attitude of service. Now, I know it's easier said than done. Of course, it always is. But you take your intention and you take persistence and you take the time and you just contemplate. How can I serve today? How can I take what I'm doing and serve someone else today? And it doesn't have to be phenomenal. Keep it little. Think small. And they go, okay, I'm gonna serve because I'm gonna treat other people nice. Well, that was the fruit of the Spirit, wasn't it? Kindness and goodness and gentleness and temperance. Okay. And if somebody, let's say you're the person, you're the wait staff, you're behind the counter, and somebody comes up to place their order, you go to their table to take their order, and they treat you with kindness and goodness and gentleness and temperance, even if they happen to bring the wrong thing to your table and you have to correct them and do correct them, but you do it with kindness and gentleness and temperance. If you're the person on the receiving end, do you feel served a little bit? Do you feel validated a little bit? Do you feel appreciated a little bit? And then you're the person on the other end, and you go, hey, come here. Idiot, this isn't what I ordered. Who hired you? And you start climbing their tree. Okay, number one, that's not service of any kind. What kind of light did you shine in the kingdom when you treat other people that way? So I'm trying to get you down to think really small and be very intentional about it, and just look at, okay, how can I use what I'm doing to serve Jesus? Now, if you can't serve Jesus in it, you might want to look for something that you can. So we're going to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. James 1:2-4, he would say, consider it all joy, my brethren, when you encounter various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance. Let endurance have its perfect result, so that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. Now, this is going to be a joy that you get out of learning to stoop low to help others up that most people just aren't going to get. Most people are not going to get it, and I know most people won't get it because I'm an advocate of people volunteering, whether you volunteer formally or you volunteer informally, and most people don't. Now, some do, and the ones that get what we're talking about and get that mystical joy, they keep volunteering. But some people just feel like they wasted their time. But once you find your niche and your place to volunteer and the joy of giving, you'll keep giving. You'll keep doing it. You'll be looking for those opportunities, and then you'll enjoy that peace that passes understanding. So how do you begin? Well, you commit to it. You got to be aware. You got to be thinking. You got to be going, okay, how can I serve today? What can I do? Just that simple. Now, this may be as simple as husband is supposed to nurture and cherish his wife as his own flesh. That's biblical, right? Ephesians 5, start at verse 25, read the rest of the chapter. And so you're going to do that. Well, okay, how do I do that? How do I serve my wife in that capacity? This may be as simple as saying, yes, dear, thank you. You're welcome and please. She says, can you get me a glass of water while you're in the kitchen? Okay, I got two choices. Get on the couch, get it yourself. You got two good feet. Not a real good idea, is it? Are you sure, honey, you want that over ice, or do you just want it in a regular glass? Very little. But those little things can make a world of difference in a marriage and other relationships. Be brutally honest with yourself. I should have highlighted yourself. If you're a little selfish, self-centered, and really not caring about serving other people, unless the opportunity just slaps you in the face and you're embarrassed because, well, other people are watching, okay, you need to be honest with yourself. Have you crucified the flesh? That's what Christianity is about. Galatians 2:20. Paul said, it's no longer I who lives, but Christ who lives in me. Galatians 5:24, he just says, crucify the flesh. That's what we do. Now, it's not about being absolutely flawless in perfection in every way. Don't even go there. We're not going to bat 1,000. But I can be consistent day by day. I can keep looking for opportunities to serve somebody, even if it's just a smile. Or depending on who we're talking about, maybe it's just a hug. You know, sometimes people just need a hug, right? And then it's really find that joy in the serving. So Jesus offers us a better way. I know it's a paradox to a lot of people. He says, I want you to let go. I'll lift you up. I want you to stoop down. Going down is the way up. Well, spiritually, things are just different. A lot of people can't see that sacrifice leading to joy. They're too afraid. They've been too poverty-ridden in so many ways for so long in their life that they're scared to death to let go because they'll think they'll be left with absolutely nothing. It takes faith. Without faith, it's impossible to please him, right? So Jesus redefined greatness for us, and then Jesus lived it. He showed us the way. And I know it's countercultural, but that's okay. The choice is between eternal loss and eternal greatness, because that's really where the greatness is going to be. Our Christianity is not going to make us great in the eyes of men, is it? I don't care. Do you? I want to be great in the eyes of God. I want God to say, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Enter into your master's rest. Now, that's pretty challenging stuff. That's contrary to everything you know. But if you believe the song we're getting ready to sing, there's power in the blood. There is power in the Scripture. There's power in the Word of God. There is power to make changes and transform your life. You can be dead in sin and just totally messed up. And you can be buried with Christ in baptism and raised to walk in newness of life. You can become a new creation. And it all starts with the blood of Christ. If you're not on that straight and narrow path, let's help get you on it. While together we stand and sing.